You're listening to Trace Elements Radio live. What is this? The 20th today. We're joined by Mashu White Feather and Chief Charles Twodog. I'd like to tell you, if you want to know what's going on this planet, as much as I can tell you, please come to our website and take a look, because this has been a week of horror and magic. Some of the magic is happening in places that haven't seen it for probably 550 years. We are seeing a get-together of tribes that is unprecedented, as far as I can tell, in the history of this continent. People who haven't spoken, people who have never really even seen real native life. Not the life on the concentration camps. By them, I mean reservations. I mean what it was like before. A great sharing. It's beautiful. And I have some images of pictures of what the Dakota Pipeline Camp looks like. You'll see unity in a way that is unprecedented. So, I think, oh, wait a minute, we're having Mashu join us now. So, Twodog, please take it away and welcome, Mashu.
Well, Seal Mashu, and to go, it's gonna go, Tracy. Thank you for doing this show. I'd like to say, Osio Mashu, Dohichu. I hope everything's going well with you. And do you have any other information on all this?
Okay, Osio Sanaliosta. I was supposed to have someone come on with us today, and I haven't heard from them yet. From a couple of guys, and one of them has been out recently to Standing Rock Camp. The last thing that I've heard is that the UN is talking about it. I don't have any of the details. I know that there is a lot of misinformation going on Facebook about what's going on out there, and it's made me kind of reluctant to be posting. And I've been posting like a fiend on everything that's been going out there. But people are putting up false pictures of what's going on out there. Media has been shut down out there. Even the people in the media have been arrested. And annoying, not following the freedom of the press.
Right.
The last, one of the big things that has happened is that there were 23 people arrested last week. 10 of them were told that they could not have bond posted for them, and I haven't heard the results of that. That was about 5 or 6 days ago. And
well, I'd like to add to it also, Mashu, because I did hear this. There were protesters also in Iowa. About 40 of them that just got arrested. I seen on Democracy Now! Yesterday.
Yes.
So more arrests going further down.
It is spreading across the country. Yeah, and I read a very interesting thing. The original pipeline was not supposed to go through Lakota country at all. It was supposed to go up through a non-indigenous community, and the non-indigenous community protested and said they did not want it there. They said put it down going through the Lakota people's reservation, and that's where they put it. Yeah, I just read that like a day or so ago.
Now, Mashu, if you don't mind, this is where I'd like to let the listeners know, too. This is one of the biggest coming together of Native people on Turtle Island ever. I mean, this is huge. Like over 200 nations right now, plus people around America side of Turtle Island, too, and all over.
Do you have? Yes, I think there's over 200 tribes represented. It's the first time in over 100 years such a mass uh, meeting of all the tribes coming together for a cause. And I am so proud of our people for doing that. You know, because the prophecy is unfolding like rapidly. And there's not
Yes, I
only
mean,
and there's not only people from our indigenous people there, but we have a lot of non-indigenous supporters. We have people coming from Hawaii and from other countries, from South America, that are coming up. And
right. I've
and
even heard people from Britain and other places that are there.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah. The
so
people are
this is
digging
big.
in for the winter. I mean, you know, I know they've stopped it in a lot of places. It's like along the whole pipeline, there are different spots that it has actually been halted. What's been going on
Hmm.
in Standing Rock, though, the guys, I think everybody knows by now that they went and destroyed a burial site and a very sacred holy ground that to the Lakota people, where it was a mass meeting for different areas of the Lakota, Nakota, and Dakota when they came together. I want to call it the Seven Council Fire, um, where
The
they
seven fires, yes.
yeah where they came for their massive ceremonies, very sacred ground, and the state was supposed to send people out to verify this, and before they could come out, the pipeline people, the DAPL, heard about it, and they went in and destroyed the sacred burial ground and this sacred site before the state could come in and do it. This is how much they want to push it through. After that, the president uh, requested that they stop, and then there's three agencies, one including the Army Corps of Engineers, and I can't remember the other two. I've had so much going on. I'm trying to keep my facts together here. Um,
Yes.
and they told them to halt, and the oil company went ahead and did it anyway. And
Well, what?
the reply from the DAPL is that they didn't think the president was serious. Come on.
Yeah, they said we didn't think he. We thought he was kidding, but let's look at it. Let's look at what they're actually saying too. What I did hear on Democracy Now and other you know sites and stuff is that what the pipeline has just said was we don't care what the president of the United States says. We're going to let it go through anyway. So they don't really care. Now,
Which goes
that's what I
back
did
to
here.
is, if they're saying that, why isn't there a government force to enforce what the president said and what these three government agencies have said? Because that tells me right there that there's corruption in the government when it comes to this pipeline, which again reinforces the six corporations that own all the governments of the world. Most of the people in power, especially in your Congress and Senate, are all bought and paid for by these corporations. And this is a perfect example. And if the American people can't see that, then they better take off their blinders.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that corporations is running America right now. Period.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, just by
And,
that.
and the sad thing is, people don't realize that this is the biggest water supply for the whole central part of the United States. Of the
Yes. Now
United
this
States.
now, Mashu, this pipeline's going through underneath the Missouri River, right?
They say it's supposed to be going about 90 feet below the river. Number one, I don't know the first thing about the oil business. I don't know how they're getting that to go under. The other thing is that oil pipes leak. Every single one has leaked at some point along its pipeline. There has been billions and billions of dollars of damage from this. And
Yes.
every one of these pipelines, the people have said before they've been installed is, oh no, we've taken all of the precautions to make sure that all of this is okay. and nothing's going to happen to the soil, to the vegetation, to the wildlife because we've taken out toxins, and every single one has leaked. They've even had natural gas leaks that have caused fires. There was one really good video this last week where it was in Australia, in fact, where the guy was in the canoe and he lit the water and the water caught on fire.
Yeah.
And that's how the water is contaminated. In Georgia and Louisiana, none of the water is safe down there right now. In fact, here in Missouri, they're saying that the water is contaminated here already.
Exactly.
And the government is saying, well, no, it's safe to drink. And even our city officials said, well, we drink the water all the time. Well, when you drink the water, you're not going to notice it right away, unless it tastes or smells differently. And a lot of times, that's not always the case. But what you're going to have is long-time residual effects. You know, people's health are going to start declining. You know, it's not always detectable right away.
Right. Exactly.
And so,
Now,
to me, it's amazing why the people aren't protesting by the millions about what's going on with the oil business in this country, because they've seen the news. You know what news reports have been out. I know they've reported the ones that have actually leaked and have these fires that have gone as a result of it. You know, of these leaks, and it's the mindset of people in the country that just amazes me. Like, why aren't people telling these companies to stop?
well, I would like to report to everyone that last Saturday there was pretty much nationwide protests around the United States part of Turtle Island, and in Nashville we did walk on the state capitol. I mean, we walked on Nashville Saturday. Most of my nation did. Most of my tribe did, and we are getting support out here, even by government officials came out and even held out the sign up saying stop the pipeline. But here's the point: was that just a photo shot for him? I have no idea. But I am hearing that I'm trying to get a hold of the state senator of Kentucky, as far as Mitch McConnell. I have heard he's backing and supporting this pipeline, which of course I've got no phone call back yet. But I'm going to keep. In other words, what I'm saying is, people that are against this in the United States, to call your local official or your senator, whoever's that like senators from all over the United States, if you're against this, and tell your senator to stop, that you want it stopped.
Exactly. And for those of us who can't be out there physically supporting our people at Standing Rock and the Red Warrior Camp and all those people out there in North Dakota, there's so many other things that we can be doing to support them. I know that I've been contacting people I know in the UN. We do have UN observers out there, trying to get supplies out there. I have about 10 different tribes married into our family, and I know a lot of the people have been sending supplies out, and wood for the winter, because the people have dug in. It's not over. The people are there for the long haul. They're getting their camps winterized.
Yes.
And I just saw yesterday where there was a buffalo that was donated, and it was being butchered and to put out amongst the people. The last I heard, and this may be an inaccurate number, but the last I heard there was about 4,000 people in camp out there, and it may be a lot more by now, but that's the last number that I heard.
Last time I heard, Mashu, that 4,000 is now up to 7.
Good.
From what I understand.
And the thing that I've noticed, for the last few weeks, I've been going around to different powwows, because our powwow is going to be the first weekend of October, our second annual here in Missouri. And I've been going to these other powwows, handing out flyers and things like that, and there's always honor songs done for Standing Rock and for the people out there defending, that are protecting, the rights of our indigenous people. And the good thing about this, it's not only our indigenous people that are coming together internationally, but it's also the non-indigenous people that are our supporters. That are
the unity of all our relations, don't you think, Mashu?
It is. That's exactly what it's turning out to be. And and in the beginning, I think people were saying, "Oh, these indigenous Americans, these indigenous people are coming together again for their native rights," and it is our native rights to defend our land. But in that process, we're defending the health and Mother Earth, not just for indigenous people, but for all humanity. Because once the water is gone, it is gone. And it's something that's not just indigenous, it's for all of mankind. Our people are our people are on the forefront there because this is our prophecy. We knew this was going to happen for hundreds and hundreds of years. It has been prophesied. All tribes have had this prophecy. And our people are saying it's not going any further. The buck stops here, and we're going to fight for our land. And the thing is, and I said this before when we were on, this is treaty land that is considered to be sovereign land. No one, that includes corporation, any level of government, any police force, any military, is not allowed on treaty sovereign land unless invited in by the tribe. And you know that no indigenous person has invited this pipeline to come in. Now, there's another thing that I've been hearing about, and it's called eminent domain. They say they have gone in because of eminent domain, but I don't understand where that would apply for sovereign treaty land, number one. And I've also heard, notice the key word is here, heard, that the permits were obtained kind of under the table illegally to get the pipeline to go through there. And definitely none of the tribes have been informed, and that's part of the treaties and part of our Declaration of Indigenous Rights that was passed by the UN a year ago. It took us 14 years to get that to be accepted by all countries through the United Nations. And part of that is that all tribes have consent and say about anything that goes on indigenous territories and lands, and that has not been followed. Again, the government has not followed the treaties and the Declaration of Indigenous Rights.
Now, let me let the listeners know this for just 1 second, Mashu. It was stated that this land is yours, the white man said, as long as the grass grows and the waters flow. Now, if you watch, it's going right through the water. Now, truthfully, they're breaking treaty law right now as far as being on treaty land doing this, okay? And matter of fact, the president of Standing Rock actually stated that, and this is a while back, is that this is kind of considered a declaration of war that the United States put on the Lakota Nation for doing something like this, because the Lakota did not ask for them to come and didn't want this. So,
well,
you know where I'm going, right?
I know exactly where you're going. The thing is that the treaties that were made with indigenous people since European invasion of our country is that all of our treaties were treaties of benefit. They were never treaties of conquest. And that is the only reason that the federal courts are obligated to uphold these treaties. A treaty of benefit is where the parties involved say, we will let you do this if you will allow us to do this. That is a treaty of benefit. A treaty of conquest is, okay, we have conquered you, and therefore you shall do this. There were never any treaties of conquest.
Right.
The state the United States government, what are there? I think there's 556 treaties. I think that's the number. I know it's over 500.
Right.
And the United States has broken every single treaty with indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples have never broken a treaty with the United States. And this practice
None.
on the United States government part, and at any level of government, be it federal, state, or local, have been the ones to break these treaties to satisfy
Exactly.
their own needs.
Exactly.
And
Now,
I don't think people realize that because the truth is never told in the history books.
Lenona LaDuke right now asked already put out this statement, especially when they set the dogs loose on the protectors up there.
Mm.
Is this 1965 in Alabama?
Yeah.
Because honest to good, it looked like it. To be honest, now let's say the truth here. The truth is, to me, that these are protectors. They're not protesters. That's what they want the world to know. They're protectors out here. Now, to be honest with you, America's going against every, treaty law. They're going against that. It's really a misunderstanding between themselves too, because you have the president of the United States saying stop it, and then XL Pipeline going, we don't care what President Obama wants, we're going to go through with this.
Well, they're going against more than that, Twodogs. What they're doing, they're annoying. They're not paying attention to even the rights of the Constitution.
Right.
The First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the freedom of press. And when they're destroying our burial sites and our religious sites, it's the freedom of religion. I mean, everything is being so blatantly ignored and not respected. And this is why they want the press to shut down. I mean, when they arrested these 23 people, they actually put out there they do not want anything that's happening out there to hit the media.
Right. They're trying to. It is a blackout on most of it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, here's the thing about Amy.
The phone. They have stopped Wi-Fi. The phone reception out there. They've tried to just absolutely isolate what's going on out there. But we have people that are managing to get things out. Now, what's being put out by the media, and this happened to me. They put up a picture, and they said this is what it looks like out at Standing Rock right now. Well, what they put up there was a picture of Woodstock, and if you look at the picture closely, you can look that none of the cars are modern. It was Woodstock was back in the '60s. And they're floating misinformation out there to confuse people. And I posted it because I didn't really look at the picture that close, and the person that sent it to me was a reliable source. And then it came out that was not happening there, so I retracted it and I made the statement, be careful, because they're putting, stupid information out there. They're trying to confuse things.
Exactly. They don't want the people to actually see what is going on here. And you got to look at it this way too. They were talking about arresting Amy Goodwin of Democracy Now! Because she actually did film and record everything, because they were telling lies when they did do it, and saying it was the Indians that were causing the trouble, pipe bombs and everything that we did not have in itself. And they even put a arrest warrant out for Amy Goodwin, but I do see she's still on here. But you have the freedom of press, from my understanding, in this country, which doesn't look, of course you have the freedom of speech until you speak it here. But it seems to be, oh, look at them Indians are doing it again. We're the bad, they want us to be the bad guys again. and it's not. Truthfully, man. I mean, this pipeline's being totally disrespectful to constitutional rights. And they're not even listening to the President of the United States right now. So, I give a question out to the President. If you have this power, then stop it now. I mean, you had two elders standing behind Bernie Sanders when Bernie Sanders asked President Obama to stop it immediately. So, why it's still happening is beyond me.
Yeah. I guess I'm slow. I don't understand why people aren't more awake on what's going on. In the beginning, when all this started, I was thinking, well, people are not paying attention because it's not affecting them directly, or they don't think it's affecting them directly. Like say here let's say where I'm at, it's a college town. There's things that are going on around our community, like several miles away, and people don't really realize. We do have people that are awake here, and we've had protests about the water and the pipelines and the fracking and the tar sands, because the Missouri River goes through Missouri, and that's where I live. And I didn't hear about this until it was over. Otherwise, I would have been there. But the most average person, I think, is that, like to say, for the students, I think the students are more aware of things that are going on than the average populace. The people who have been here for years, because it doesn't affect them directly. They don't see the results of what's happening. Because they go to work, they come home, they have their routine, they have kids that send to school and all that. But the thing is, the news media isn't putting anything out there because the corporations are shutting them down, and then the people aren't informed. And when these people do get the information, it's usually too late. And so it's things like this program here, and it's through the internet that the word is getting out. Social media is so important. And like even and I'm not the most computer literate person in the world, have figured out how to get some of the things online, because they've even stopped. Even Facebook has stopped. Like if I post, let's say, a picture of what's going on or a video, and I put I write about what it is, the only thing that has been showing up this last week is just the stuff in print, no pictures. And so I figured out a good way to get around that, and that's to go directly to the picture, to click on it and put that on first and then do it, and then I think all but one has gone through.
Guys, do you mind if I jump in here for a minute?
Sure.
Please do.
I've been noticing that as well, and what we're seeing, and this is so targeted. If you have a native name, which Facebook tried to get rid of before, or if you have a picture of yourself that looks native, your posts aren't going in the general feed. I have a reptile on mine, so apparently reptiles can say what they want. I've noticed there's a big difference. And what I was thinking yesterday, how different it would have been, how difficult it would have been right from the beginning to try to explain to the newcomers, our guests, because that's what we were supposed to be, how we think here. We don't think about now in a way that most Europeans think of now. We think of what we do now happening to our grandchildren's grandchildren 7 generations from now. So when you can't even have a conversation about something happening now, because our ideas of time were so different. people still seem disconnected because they're not really feeling that this pipeline, yes, it was moved, and I posted that. It was moved to go specifically through native land.
Yep.
These pipelines, and I put up pictures, are going through native land purposely.
Mm-hmm.
Mercury poisoning is happening on First Nations reserves up here. People are crying out all over the planet right now to save our Earth. So you have to remember, this waterway connects to every waterway on this continent. Take a look. Take a closer look at it. Anything that touches even close to the Mississippi affects this planet. This is our Nile. This is our Amazon. This is our great river. And this great river, even underground, touches everything. So even though pipelines and a lot of drilling and nuclear waste deposits are put on reserves, it's never going to stay there. It moves. So whether you're feeling it now, it's still going to affect you. And thanks so much, guys, for doing this for me today. I really appreciate it. And, please go on. You're killing it.
You can jump in anytime you want.
Yes, you can, Tracy. Anytime you want, shut us up and you go for it, honey. But Mashu, let me just let the people understand something also. My wife came home a couple of days ago and said that some stores in Tennessee right now do not have gas because there's a pipeline that has been busted down in Louisiana.
Yep.
So these pipelines are busting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like what the Lakota is saying right now. It's not, when they're going to bust. It's going to happen. I mean, that's happening now in Tennessee, as far as Tennessee is concerned.
Mm.
So they're looking to see if the stores raise the rates on the gas. But right now, some of them have no gas unless they do now. But as of a few days ago, some stores in Tennessee had no gas at all. So these pipelines are busting. They will bust. And the thing about it is, you can't drink oil. And water is life, is what the protectors are saying, which that's true, isn't it?
And it's not only the oil that's in the water, it's the chemicals and the byproducts of the fracking, that is going in, it's the toxins that are going into the water aside from the oil.
Right.
From the different processes, there's different ways to process the oil and to get it. There's the tar sands, there's the fracking, there's the pipelines. And the only reason Tracey's poster being able to get in because she has a snake on her profile picture, and they think that's part of the pipeline. That's a baby pipeline. So
go reptiles.
Huh?
Go reptiles.
Yeah, go reptiles. So
they think I'm for it, so I'm allowed to post anything I want.
Yeah. See, that's probably the grandchild of the big black snake that we're trying to stop, and that's what they're thinking. Good for you, Tracy.
You bet. I'm incognito.
Yes. Now, guys, this is a prophecy that the Lakota have as far as the black snake prophecy. Let's go with this for a second. And it states that the Lakota way of life will be changed complete forever if this black snake makes it. And really, that's the pipeline right now. That is the prophecy, the black snake prophecy, don't you think, guys?
It is the prophecy, and it's not only the Lakota that are talking about the black snake. I think all the tribes have that as referencing that as well. The thing that I wish, and I guess and I know you think the same way, Twodog and Tracey, is that it had to be something as big and as bad as this to bring our people together. Our people should have been unified long ago. And
yes.
And if we had been able to do this, I don't think it would have even have gotten this far.
No, I seriously don't.
So
No, I
what we
seriously
have to
doubt
do
it.
is to make best of the situation that we have now. And more people are coming. You know, I keep hearing of more people that are planning on going out, you know, and to Standing Rock and to the different camps there. Um, so the support is there, at least from Indigenous people, and we know that more and more non-Indigenous people, our supporters, our allies that are non-Indigenous, are going out there. And I really feel in my heart of hearts that we are going to be successful. I I think that even though a lot of the media coverage has been tampered with, has been trying to be stopped, the word is still getting out. I think more and more people are going to be informed, and I think we'll have even more support. But the people are digging in. They are not going anywhere. I know when the president requested that everything stop, a lot of people at that time, well, the president's in on it, so it's going to stop. Everything is over. I've even heard people comment several times, oh, I thought everything was okay out there now. And no, it hasn't. It's going to be there. People are digging in. And one of the comments from the camp yesterday was that everything's going back old way as far as the traditions, because they are living in community again. They've got the buffalo, like, all the people that were helping butcher that buffalo,
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that, because, this is better than where most people come from.
Yeah.
With the harsh conditions on reservations. There's a lot of natives who have also never seen what this is. Reservation life is not the Indian way. It is something else. So they are calling this protest, this protectorate, a city now. And there are schools and people learning the old way and how to be together. And if you look at the pictures I put up just today, you will see tribes. People are tribing up, like I did the call out last week, from every little shade of skin, continents all over. Canadians are there now, so you guys are going to have a raffle soon. So that's going to be fun.
There was a picture, I don't know if you saw this, Tracy. There was a picture that was posted yesterday morning, and I wanted to post it, but it didn't look right to me. It had, they said that this was the latest picture from out there, and it had a huge semicircle of communities that were around this. It looked like a ceremonial ground, or like a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like in different blocks, like maybe 15, 20 blocks deep of different camps in a half circle all the way around this. And I said, well, I don't see where there's any river. I don't see where there's any equipment in the background. And it just didn't look right to me. Did you see that picture?
I didn't see that one. But I know there's, like you were saying, a lot of fake information going out there and images that are from like Woodstock. And it's obvious that these aren't people now.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's stoned.
This is what people that are infiltrating and trying to get misinformation out there because they don't want people to know the truth. And so they're putting this nonsensical stuff up there.
So I have images that are pretty striking from inside the Dakota Pipeline Camp. And this one has individual pictures of people.
Ah, good one. Yeah. Yeah, I found some of those. I'm going to have to go tap your timeline and see if I can get some of those pictures.
I'll give you some links from our page too. They're on the website as well.
Oh,
so
this is what you call networking, people.
That's right. We're talking. We're networking. We're seeing something that is unprecedented on planet Earth. We're seeing people coming together. which we really needed to see, because people, even in the alternative media, didn't seem to really grasp that this isn't about religions here. This is about corporations that have taken over.
Mm-hmm.
It's corporations. And what's happening on that pipeline has proved corporations are more important than your president, stronger than the DOD, stronger than the UN. Mm-hmm. And this is happening worldwide, that people are standing up saying, no, wait a minute. You need to stop. And the only way we can stop this is banding together. This is true unity. This is tribing up.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I was talking to a friend of mine in New Zealand yesterday on Skype, and he's Maori. And
yeah.
Not only he, but a lot of people, indigenous people, are saying, why can't we have like a United Nations of just indigenous people? Why can't our people, just indigenous people around the world, have our own type of unity? And I told him, I said, it's happening. It is happening. It's taking this to make it happen. And I said, anything that's going to be good doesn't happen overnight. You know, when you're talking internationally, it takes a little time. But the roots are there, and we already have people coming from all over the world to these camps, you know, in support. Now, a thing that I saw yesterday that I thought was just a wonderful, it was a picture it was two pictures, one on top of another. The top one was of the Bundy camp, when the Bundy guys took over out there, where was it, in Wyoming?
Mm-hmm.
And they had weapons and stuff, and it showed the police going and shaking hands with these protesters. And then underneath, they had a picture of the dogs attacking out at Standing Rock. And the top picture was the cops were shaking hands with the protesters that had guns, and they says, this is what happened at Bundy that had weapons. And then they showed the ones at Standing Rock, and he says, and this is what happens with people with no weapons, just prayers. And it was such a contrast. And man, you don't think I didn't paste that all over everything? It's such two completely different ways of treating people, because one is indigenous and one is not.
Exactly.
You know?
And the thing about the Bundy, Mashu, the thing about the Bundy Ranch also, that CNN did not report, no other woman reported, is that was on tribal land too.
It was on tribal land. They even went through the tribal offices and destroyed some of the papers and the artifacts. It was like a museum type of thing also. And no, you didn't hear that. Because the government doesn't want people to know what's going on how bad this treatment is still. This treatment has not stopped for our people in the last 600 years. This treatment is still happening to us. They still want us gone. We are the pest that will not go away. They put us on the worst land to begin with, concentration camp that they lovingly call reservations. Oh, these native people can live their lives the way they want to now. Blah, 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 blah. Well, the thing is, it was the worst land they gave us. You know, I know some of the Anishinaabe people here in the United States were given land that was underwater. And they said, how are we supposed to plow this? With clamshells?
Exactly.
With long reeds so we're underwater? You know, what is this? And now that they find that the natural resources, they can go through tribal land, well, here it still continues, you know, and this is another type of genocide. It does not stop. The genocide includes the selling of our women and children and kidnapping and murdering them into the sex and slave trade. You know, this is still happening to our people, to our indigenous people. And do you think they'll put that out there? No, because they do not want the people to know. If American people knew what exactly was going on, I feel this would have stopped a long time ago. Let's
look at something else here, Mashu, just for a second. Okay. The reason I'm saying this is you had a presidential candidate and a vice presidential candidate that actually went out there on the front line, okay, and they arrested these two for, I think, vandalizing a bulldozer, okay. They arrested them, but here's my point: they bulldozed a burial site, a burial ground, sacred stuff to our people, and nobody arrests them. So what's...
First of all, putting graffiti on a piece of machinery is not going to affect the way that machinery works. If anything,
Right.
it gave it a facelift, made it look better. And it also put a message. Yeah. What they're doing is irreplaceable. What's destroyed cannot be done, cannot be put back. It can, I would like to think that there was ceremony done for these graves that were dug up by our people, and maybe put back. That's the only way that it can be done, and I'm sure the people out there are taking care of that. I have no doubts about that. Whether they will be allowed to be put back in the same place or not, that's the question.
Yes.
But I'm sure the people, if they were allowed to even go over there, but see, that's the question of were they allowed to go and retrieve these things, the remains of these people. Now, if I was to go into a white man's cemetery, like say here in Columbia, and start digging up a grave, before I even got that first shovel load up, I would be arrested and thrown in jail.
Oh my God, so important. This is a graveyard, people. We have pictures when we were following the Bundys of them with bulldozers destroying relics.
Yeah.
Now, we see Native people who are putting up signs, and they have elders and children holding them saying, "We are unarmed." Because right now, focus of this planet is on the United States. What will you do? Now, you have to decide how you want to really be seen, because they are seeing the true self of the United States, who you're run by, and it's not the Jews, kids. It's a couple corporations.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like the United States is in the middle of a big election thing now. I personally feel both candidates do not deserve to be in there. But the thing is that no matter who the president is, whether they're Democrat or Republican, they don't really have any power to do anything, because it's the Congress and the Senate that control everything.
Just proved that a corporation can bring in privateers, basically pirates. These are, this is the oldest trick in the book, that they pay some ex-soldier to go in there and fight, and no one has stopped it. People have stopped it. Governments? No. So it doesn't matter who you elect. I'm here in Canada. We got our Disney prince who likes to take off his shirt every so often to make us forget what's going on.
I am so disappointed in him, Tracy, because he is Métis.
Yes, he is, and his mom's side too.
I was just praying. I said, "Oh, good, we finally got a Native person in there, and it's going to be good for the people are going to get their rights." And then he started messing up, and I went, "Man, Tracy was right."
It took hours.
I am so tired of her being right all the time.
I know, right? Don't argue with me. I know what I'm
Tracy
talking
says
about.
it is normally right.
He's pretty.
I know.
He is pretty. But, he's getting pictures taken with Indian headdresses on. It's a Cree headdress. They're Métis, so he's French and Micmac. Come on.
Why does he dress Micmac?
So he shouldn't be wearing a ceremonial headdress and having people take his picture.
Well, now, was he presented with that? Because I know here in the United States for years, Native people would present the president with an eagle headdress.
It may be, but it looks costumey to me.
Oh, it doesn't look real?
No. It looks like he went to the costume store. But I know he was presented with eagle feathers and a very appropriate, a very well-made headdress. But that's not the one he's getting pictures taken in. Because we've seen him in that. We've seen him in his buckskin. We've seen him. This is why at first I was thinking, this might be the guy. And then he opened his mouth and I went, oh, we're going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know there's a trend here in the United States. I don't know if it is in Canada. Maybe you know. If people don't dress, like say at powwows or gatherings, in their own tribal traditional clothing, they dress according to the style of dance that they do.
I think it depends on which powwow it is. That you usually wear something that shows the tribe that has welcomed you.
Well,
and
okay.
And the dance too. So yeah, that's happening more and more.
Yeah. Now, when I'm allowed to dance, I can't dance because of deaths in the family. I dress Cherokee, but I do what's called Southern Straight Dance. It's a older veteran style of dance, and I do not dress that way. I still dress Cherokee, but the only thing I've added to make it look like a Southern Straight is that I have the otter hide that goes down my back, which is over 200 years old, and then my breechcloth drags the ground in the back. And other than that, I dress Cherokee because that's who I am. And but a lot of people, like say if they do, let's say grass dancing, well, that's not from our part of the country. That was up in Lakota and Ojibwe country, and so people dress according to that style of dance. Let's say, that's the example.
I'm a man's traditional dancer myself.
I used to be
dancing. I dance in my clan colors and stuff like that. But Mashu, didn't you state last time? Now I want to go here for just a second. Where this pipeline is and the protectors that are there, there are some nations that are now talking that don't talk. Like, didn't you state that there is a someone from the Crow Nation that actually came out there to stand with the Lakota and pray with them? And that's big.
That was so moving to me. The Lakota and the Crow have been bitter enemies ever since the Battle of Greasy Grass Creek. That's where Custer started wearing arrow shirts. And because it was the 7th Cavalry had closed Scout. And
we're about to take a break, guys. We're going to be right back. Everyone get up and stretch your legs. Thank you very much for listening. And welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Trace Elements Radio. We're talking about what's going on this planet right now. Of course, the focus was originally Dakota Pipeline. But we have to understand the situation we're in. If Trump gets in, he's decided that he's going to put a big oil executive in charge of, well, basically he's going to be Secretary of the Interior to the White House. So they're going to be in charge of America's 413 national parks, the protection of endangered species, federal oil, gas, coal reserves, and guess what the name is? Forrest Lucas of the Lucian variety. So, thank you, Satan, basically. This is what we're looking at. And Trump, by the way, his grandfather's last name, his real last name was Trump. Nazi. You think he's changed? I don't.
No.
Welcome back, guys, and thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful talk today.
If I may add to that, Tracy, just for a second, and Mashu, just for a second, guy. one of the things about Trump right now, number one, if you elect this guy, you're actually electing one of the biggest bigots I've ever heard. But his father was actually caught at a KKK meeting anyway, so but he doesn't know what white supremacist is.
Yes, he was.
No
we have pictures.
He was
Yeah,
also the bigger corporations too. I mean, this is a businessman that tried. It was just I read it just within the last few months, where he tried to get a casino built, and he was saying that Indians don't even look like Indians now because he was mad that only the federally recognized tribes can have casinos and stuff, and he could not get a permit for a casino that he wanted to build. I don't even remember where it was, but he even went to a court, and even before I want to say a Senate meeting. I could be wrong about that. And that was his argument. Well, Indians don't even look like Indians. Well, what are we supposed to look like? Number one, we have all shades just like any other race. Since European migration, it's been more. But he was just really tearing down it because he really wanted that casino. And he was really putting down Native people in that. And everything, since he's got this new campaign manager, he's recanting on a lot of stuff. She's softening the blows, and I think some people are beginning to fall for it. But if Trump gets in, you're just handing everything over again to the corporations. There is, I think, 90-something seats in both the legislature and the Senate, the Congress and the Senate, and 86 of them are up for re-election this year. People should get those people out. They've been in for 30, 40, and 50 years, if not longer.
Right.
People need to get out if we're going to see change. And try to put people in that cannot be bought by these corporations. Now, before we took a break, we were talking about the Lakota and the Crow.
Yes.
These people have been at constant war since the Battle of Greasy Grass Creek, and most people know it as the Battle of the Little Bighorn, but it's really the Battle of Greasy Grass Creek. And Custer's bunch had Crow scouts, and this is what has caused the rift between the Lakota people and the Crow. I posted this on Facebook. Big delegation of the Crow people from Crow Agency in Montana came on with their tribal leaders and drums and the whole shebang, and came singing into Standing Rock Camp to mend that rift. I know that the Crow people have had a big thing. It's called the largest teepee city in the world, when they have their Crow Fair days out there in Montana. I've been out there, and there's always been fights amongst the Crow and the Sioux. Years ago, my sister-in-law was Miss Indian America 1980 to 1981, and we went out with her in 1981 to Sheridan, Wyoming, when she gave up her crown. We went on the way there, we went through Lakota country, and in their post office they had a big sign. Remember the old signs of Uncle Sam with the red, white, and blue top hat and all that, saying Uncle Sam wants you? Well, they had one on the Lakota res that said this was on Rosebud, that said Uncle Sam wants you to kill the Crow. After the Miss Indian America pageant was over, we went on up into Montana. We were going to the Blackfeet res around Browning, and we went right through Crow Agency, and we pulled over, and we went into the post office there, and there was that same sign that said Uncle Sam wants you to kill the Sioux. And this is how bad it's been. They come together, they have fights. They've always been like that since that time. And this is the first time that the Crow walked into a Sioux camp in support. And it took something like this to bring those people together for a common cause. All the tribes there have their leaders there, and they had a big council They have a huge teepee, and this is one of the places where they're teaching these kids this. They're using it for a school also, where there's two teepees put together and they're connected with poles going all the way across, and the canvas that holds hundreds of people. And this is where all of the tribal leaders have been meeting, to keep what's going on out there, to keep it going, and to have counsel between the tribes that are there. And I think that is just totally awesome.
It's well needed.
Yes.
And to me, it's encouraging to see this happening. Now, the thing about it is, Mashu, for us natives that have, let's say, paid our dues, if you get what I'm saying, really doesn't have the money to get out there and physically unable, like myself, but still fighting for it. What can we do? Can we just keep throwing as much message out there of what we get, and keep doing shows like this is extremely important.
Yeah,
and keep this on the airways, don't you think?
First of all, Native people were made extremely good looking, not wealthy, and most of us don't have the money to get out there. I fall into that category, but I also fall into another category. I risk a lot by going out there because I am associated with the United Nations.
Right.
And there are United Nations observers out there. I found out that because of our NGO being accredited and recognized by the UN, I could actually be out there as a UN observer. The risk that I run is that if I get arrested, then that would end my work in the NGO of doing our work, going to other indigenous peoples around the world. So in order to keep that from happening, what I do to help is I try to organize things from my end here and not physically get out there. I mean, I would love to be out there. If I wasn't worried about that, I'd be out there in a heartbeat. I'd figure out some way. But we do a lot of work with our organization, working with indigenous peoples all around the world.
Right.
So
let me do this, Mashu, for just a second, and follow me in where I'm going, if you don't mind. And what I'm trying to do for the listeners here on America's side, and I'm talking about indigenous people also, is what these protectors are trying to do, since this oil pipeline will go down through even into Illinois here, is the first peoples there in Standing Rock and the peoples around the world that are standing with them now on the front line, what they're trying to do is protect your children's water too. So basically, it's an indigenous problem because it starts on tribal land, yes, but when it goes down into your cities, it becomes a human issue with everybody. Would that be correct, Mashu?
Well, yes, like we stated before, it's on native land right now, but our people have been fighting this for longer than when it hit native land. Okay, we've been protesting peaceably, but now we're just protecting. There's not a weapon out there. The only time you saw any resemblance of any kind of weapon is when the DAPL brought those guard dogs out, and they charged into the group of people that were there trying to stop them, and they were carrying flags, and you only see one picture of a guy taking his flag and using the flag pole to push the dog away. That is the only that's the only thing that you have seen. Now these other guys, they have full military gear with automatic weapons, out there against the people who have no weapons at all. They have their prayers they have their drums, they have their songs, they have their sacred feathers. And they're protecting what they have been allowed to have by the invading government.
You know, we've shown pictures of mercenaries protecting oil all over the world.
Yes.
And diamond mines and any kind of resource that they want. That they hire mercenaries. Same boots of the guys who actually were involved in the 2012 Olympics and started rounding up homeless people. And nothing was said about that in London, England. We keep seeing the same guys involved in stuff. This isn't Blackwater, but it's Blackwater-ish.
Exactly.
You know, it's the same guys, same kind of guys. You can tell. They have a military bearing. They're the ones who are involved in all the false flags. It's the same thing. You know, we are seeing a movement here. Some of the northern Mohawk tribes and the southern, it just, you know, the only thing dividing them is this imaginary line between Canada and the United States, which doesn't exist. It's something in your head. There aren't two countries. There's one. It's Turtle Island.
And there's really no border between Mexico and the United States.
No.
It's a continent. You know, the borders were made by the European migrants and the government that they have formed.
So I guess the warning.
Borders. We had territories that we respected prior to that. And if we wanted to go through someone's territories, we offered gifts.
You brought gifts. And that actually is the only time that there was any kind of stealing of a stagecoach thing that they say natives did all over. No. A coach went somewhere it wasn't supposed to. They demanded a gift. Well, expected one. It wasn't given, so they stole a couple horses. After that, natives were attacked. And then your whole stagecoach thing that they blame natives on happened once. So, you know, the last time the upper and lower Mohawks got together, we burnt down your White House. So you need to be paying attention.
Bless your heart.
We did.
There you go, Tracy.
With that temper.
You know, okay, let's go back a little further.
Please.
I happened to be in New Zealand when I was there for 3 months when the Idle No More came to the forefront with Chief Spencer.
Right.
Okay? We became the voice of No More in New Zealand. Quite by accident. We didn't expect it. And I came back after 3 months to the United States, and I was living in Alabama amongst our people there. And I came back, and I was just, you know, I was all fired up. I said, okay. And I started talking to our people about Idle No More, and what are we doing here? And people were going, what's that? Because it had been totally blocked in the United States about what Idle No More was, what its goals were, about the things that had happened up in Canada. You know, so it's like starting all over again, you know, trying to educate and put the word out there by Idle No More.
And it was us last time doing this and making people aware of this. And Idle No More, by the way, with its original 4 women founders, are actually at the camp right now.
Exactly. That's where I was going, you know. And we're joining forces still, you know, it's still there. So that's good.
Yes.
Good.
Matter of fact, I think one of them actually got maced. That, you know, the stuff ran into her face.
Yes, and there are now 45 people who have been arrested.
Oh, they've gone up?
Yep.
Since today?
Since today.
Are they going into the camps and taking them, or are they the people who wander outside of the camp? Do you know anything about that, Tracy?
At this point, it's the people who have wandered out, or got too close to one of their imaginary lines of don't go any closer to our machinery?
Another thing that I have found out is that the FBI is monitoring anyone going in and out of the camp. I've just heard that, and I've been warning people that are taking supplies in. You know, there's I think there's a couple of back ways where you can avoid these barricades, but I know that they. But I know the last thing I've heard is that, like I said, the FBI is monitoring anyone going to and from the camps. They're trying to shut off the supplies. That has not worked. They've cut off the water. They're still getting water in. Matter of fact, that's part of the supplies that are going in. They just had a big shipload of firewood come in. I think it was from Canada. Wasn't that from the Cree?
Yes, it was.
Uh-huh. And so all of these things, you know, we have our ways to get things in there. You know, but people are there for the long haul. And hopefully the media will start putting more stuff out there. There has been some mass media coverage, but very little. Now, one of the things I'm doing when the show is over today, I have to notify all the media in our area about our upcoming powwow. I'm going to be asking questions about why aren't they covering what's going on in North Dakota. Why don't they have people there covering it? I'm going to ask them, are you being told not to publish this? You know, what's going on out there? Because any good reporter would have been out there by now. You know,
yeah, I mean, look at Amy Goodman. What they tried to do with her.
Yeah, well, she's in hiding now. She's in hiding now. She was a news reporter that was doing excellent reporting on exactly what was going on out there, and now she
was excellent at it.
Yep, and she has been subpoenaed, and she's in hiding.
I did want to let the listeners know right before this thing really got started, and Tracey knows where I'm fixing to go with this, is that right before this thing really got started, there was a military helicopter land out here. So maybe they're watching me too. I don't have the slightest idea. I mean, that's a good possibility.
You know why they're there.
Knowing me.
No, that we know why they're out there for you, because they found oil on your land. They want that snake to go down there by you.
Yeah, and they want to give you a little bit of the American style of free and dumb. You know, we have some breaking news.
Oh, okay.
I was just sent a tribe called Red Says Hi. They're the native music that I play.
Yes.
They just had a rally yesterday. Over 5,000 people were there.
How many?
5,000.
Oh, okay.
And they're officially #1 band in Canada right now, saying that we stand with Standing Rock. Right downtown Toronto, they stopped traffic. Didn't care. So, you know, I would like to thank them very much for what they did. And it wasn't just a group of natives. It was a group of everybody.
Good.
Supporters, peoples of this planet who have realized, and I guess I'm really excited that I'm seeing this finally. Instead of people saying, you know, when they say Native Lives Matter, other people yell Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter. Listen, you don't do that. First of all, that's rude. It's like showing up at someone's funeral and having your own issues. Don't do that. But stand by your brothers and sisters, because we're at that point.
All lives matter.
If you want to live on this earth, you need to stand up. It's time. What are you waiting for? People miss. We don't have the massive numbers, at least in our chat room right now, although there's lots listening because our listeners work, thank God. But if I talk about fairy tales and reptilians and crap from the Bible and aliens landing, we get thousands of listeners. We talk about the truth, we got 4 guys and a stick or something. Like,
Yeah.
I realize that people want me to tell them stories, and I enjoy storytelling. But this is real. We're seeing a real story happening. We're seeing a real fight happening. We're seeing the conclusion of an age that almost destroyed our people on this continent. And we're seeing people who actually, some were dragged over here, most had to evacuate where they lived to come here. We're seeing them band together. This is the biggest news. No one should be talking about anything else. We should be focusing on this. I can make you a story. I can tell you a story about the snake. I can tell you a couple stories are going on right now about the condor, and a whole bunch of prophecies are being played out right now and coming to life. And the important part about the snake is that if we didn't kill the snake together as a family, we would all die.
Yep.
This is basically Turtle Island's Revelations prophecy. This is the end of the world. We kill this together as a family, or one way or another, we're going to be family. I hope it's to save the earth myself.
One thing, it's kind of off the subject, but then again, it's not. I posted a thing that the Dalai Lama said yesterday. There's been a lot of things, there's been recent bombings here in New York and in New Jersey. And again, it was a person of Middle Eastern descent who was a U.S. citizen, and everybody's going, the Muslims do this and the Muslims do that and the Jewish people do this, and all of this kind of rhetoric that goes with all of this. And the Dalai Lama did this speech. It was a video that I posted yesterday, and he says, no religion or belief preaches violence, especially Islam. And he said all faiths preach the same thing, to love and to respect and to honor. These people that are doing these vile acts and taking human life are not followers of Islam or of Judaism or of Christianity or of Buddhism or whatever the religion is. These are radicals, and they're using the name of religion in order to carry out their acts. And he says, and to me that was so beautiful to hear him say that. And I'm a traditional, but I love the Dalai Lama and his wisdom, and the things he says, and he's very down to earth when he puts this out there. But
it's so true. He's a tribal person. He's an indigenous person whose entire people, not only did they try to wipe them out completely, but he can't even go home.
No, he is in exile from Sept.
So he knows exactly what we're going through, and yeah, I love his words too.
I know, and that is something I would love. I would give anything to just sit with him and talk one-on-one, and of course I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be going, But again, and you're exactly right, he is an indigenous person who knows exactly what we're going through, and probably has gone through a lot more than any of us have, as an individual. But he just, like, in his speech to me, he was pulling us all together as a family and said, hey, look, these are radicals. These are not representing any religious or faith-based belief at all. These are people who are outside the loop, and they're just using what most of us believe to kill. And we're all one family is basically what I took away from what he was saying. And this is what's happening now with our indigenous people. Just like when I was talking about the Crow and the Lakota, we're putting
Yes.
those things aside, those historical things aside. We're coming together as a people, and this is happening more and more amongst indigenous peoples, not only here on Turtle Island but around the world. And I think it would be awesome if we could have our own council of all indigenous peoples. And we kind of have that at the UN, but we're still under the UN. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it'd be awesome if we had our own way from the UN. But I think the UN right now gives us more credence, or more of a say, or puts more weight behind what we're doing as individual indigenous peoples coming together. But it would still be nice to have us all where, like, when something like this happens,
Yeah.
what's happening in the U.S., our indigenous leaders would come together and say, okay, let's send our people over here. Let's send our representatives here. I think that would really be more effective.
Because it's worked. We
Oh,
didn't
it's
ask.
working.
They didn't ask permission from
It's
a
working.
government agency or the UN, who basically can only make suggestions to countries, nothing else. Although
Well,
they had fun invading the Congo.
the you had to bring
They
that
did
up.
that. You know that bugs me. I got all kinds of DNA all over that place. You get
I
out
know.
of there.
but but the UN can come on indigenous land, if I am understanding law right, if the tribal government there requests their presence. Otherwise,
Really?
they're not allowed there.
We have something happening in Canada. We have a new, basically, Minister of Defense.
Okay.
He's not called that, but it's basically the same kind of thing. He's Indian from India, who has actually said that First Nations people should be able to call in the military when they're having a problem.
Good for him.
No one's ever said that. People were screaming and yelling because he said that, but he goes, "No, you hired me. You think I was going to be quiet?" Because there is now a state of emergency in Saskatchewan. In 2012, Twodog and I talked about the meeting I had with a nurse, Cree woman, and a nurse who has said that there is an AIDS epidemic. Now, she said this in 2012, an AIDS that is killing Native people in 6 months. And now they're admitting it. And now there's a state of emergency. Not only are their waters polluted badly when they're using words like beyond repair, there's this. And that's one of the strange places that we've talked about where wild animals are getting human diseases, like something that looks like TB, which I thought we took care of, but apparently not. They're getting something that looks like AIDS. Animals in the far north. Now, a lot of that has to do with the mercury poisoning that has stopped people from being able to feel their hands, their fingers, their toes, all across northern Canada, because mercury poisoning is one of the side effects of diamond mining.
Mm-hmm.
We got all kinds of diamonds up here, and it's killing us. We're having an outbreak of neurological disorders, one of which that I have in Ontario because of the mining. So, people talking, Indigenous people talking all over the world, talking about the exact same thing, exact same problems, done by the exact same guys, by the way, who usually like to hire people who look like us to kill us. But it doesn't matter. It's the same people, the same corporations.
Yeah.
And we're realizing that if we don't stand up now, it's going to be too late.
Yeah. Are you familiar with a place called Waffle Island?
No.
It is in Canada, and it's down by Detroit.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Those people have been dealing with mercury poisoning for at least 30 years, from the big businesses, from the motor industries They dump all their stuff in the water,
Yes.
and the it gets in the water. The people are getting it from the fish they catch. The other wildlife go and drink from the water from the, like say, the deer, and they eat that. It goes
Yes.
into the vegetation. One of the side effects of mercury poisoning is that it affects your equilibrium. And these native people are being arrested all the time for being drunk. And it's not being drunk, it's that mercury poisoning that has affected their equilibriums where they can't walk in a straight line. And so what police they have there are arresting them for being drunk because they look like they're drunk. That's another effect of the mercury poisoning. And I've known that
yeah, it's huge.
because I went to talk to a Potawatomi elder there years ago, and we had to take a ferry across to this island right outside of Detroit. His name was Silas Thomas. He was, I think he was Potawatomi, telling me about that.
For the Canadians listening, that's the one we call Pablo. It's
Call
Pablo.
it what?
Yeah, Pablo Island.
Pablo Island.
Pablo.
Okay.
Yep.
In the United States, it's called Wapo Island.
Close. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we have all over this planet, we're seeing the effects of what happens when, the natives who met the individuals who came over here said, do not do this. Do not do these things. And people just thought they were being negative. It didn't matter if you cut down 1,000-year-old redwoods. It doesn't matter if you bring in animals that aren't from here. It doesn't matter if you have to grow grass, which is ridiculous, by the way, and manicured gardens and all these things. You can't live like this.
I'm sorry, Tracy. I'm still laughing at you being so politically correct.
Well, I can't say those bad words now.
When they talk to these individuals.
Well, yeah, I'm trying my best because people think I'm harsh.
You are so good.
Right?
Right. I
Good girl.
applaud you. And really, we need to be more diplomatic when we talk and stuff like that. But when you're an indigenous person and you see your people continuing going through all of this nonsense, it's so hard to remember.
It's so hard. When I read stuff like the UN accidentally infected people of Haiti with cholera, because that happens by accident, apparently, and that's my people too. Like, I would like to do a whole show where I swear for 2 hours straight, and I've done those shows. Don't think I haven't. And but it doesn't help. The people listening to us didn't do this thing, but not being aware of it
exactly
is helping it happen. You need to be aware.
You've heard me say this 1,000 times, and even on our show, Doreen and my show, people say, "Well, you live in the past." We don't live in the past. We have to continually look at the past because those are where the lessons are to be learned, not to let those things happen again. And you take that knowledge to deal with present day situations like what's going on in North Dakota, and hopefully
You're right.
with that knowledge that we've learned of what hasn't worked in the past and what has worked in the past, we can put those together with what's going on now and ensure a better future for 7 and more generations ahead, and have it a more concrete future where these things will never happen again. And so yes, our teachings, our traditions all come from the past, and those have lessons for us to learn how to deal with things, because we as an indigenous people are progressing all the time like everybody else.
Right.
And it's with this knowledge that we make our existing civilizations, tribal civilizations, better, more known, more where we're able to work with other people better and yet not give up anything of being who we are. And I've said this a million times. You can become anything you want in your life, accomplish any goals you want to set, but never forget who you are, where you come from, your people, your traditions, your culture, and your language, because those things define you and separate you from everyone else in your identity. But that does not hold you back from accomplishing anything you want to in this world. And the more our people come together, like this black snake is doing in North Dakota, it's bringing us all together, and we're working as a team. Even non-indigenous people are coming together, where we are just human beings, but we each have our own unique background. And if you're talking indigenous, our tribal cultures are all different. We have basics that are the same, but we have even greater differences. But yet we're all there for the same reason. We're all working together as a human race, not a native race or an Anglo race or whatever. We're all there to save humanity. But that doesn't mean, we forget who we are and the traditions and the stuff that brought us there in the first place. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure does.
We're all related.
We have to. We're related, like it or not. I don't care how in Canada, United States, most places in the world, they'll say you're Native American or you're Black Canadian or African Canadian. But Caucasians they just leave them like they're from where? The moon. They just say, yeah, the other person was Caucasian. That means nothing. They came from somewhere.
Let me just inform you about something. Doreen and I were in England and in France last year.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were returning from England, we were at the airport, and Doreen went to get her ticket home. They wouldn't let her because she had to be out of the country on a certain time. And she said, "Well, no." She said, "We're going to Canada." Within that 3 months. And they said, "Well, that doesn't count because the United States, Canada, and Mexico are all considered by immigration as one country." Did you know that?
Well, yeah, this was the trade agreement that everyone's paying attention to now. That already happened. It's already done. This is one country. And actually, it's funny because they made the thing that was one country again.
Well, then why are we trying to build a wall between Mexico and the United States if we're one country? Hello?
Well, because we've got some very frightened men who feel that they can decide. People who have been crossing back and forth for thousands of years are now not allowed to cross into here. America doesn't exist. Canada doesn't exist. And your laws now say that. So these imaginary lines are only dividing us, cutting us in half, splitting us into little tiny sections and pieces.
Thing still going, isn't it?
It's so stupid.
Yeah, but we didn't know that because we looked at Canada as being a separate country and Mexico being a separate country than the United States. But we found out the hard way, and she had to buy another whole new ticket to go someplace else after that.
They haven't officially said it, but we are now living in a new place called the Americos. And it hasn't been called that since one of the first papal bulls. So it proves that this was the plan all along. It's not a new plan. It's not new guys. It's the same guys that planned on this, that after they were done ripping the languages out of the Europeans and making them think they were something they weren't, and then sending them out starving and sick. The same things happened here, but the same thing happened in Europe first. They got you first. It's just you're not taught that you were take and listen to the accents, even if you just speak English, you can tell that is not your first language, because you don't pronounce things in the Queen's English, who's German anyway, so that's even hilarious. But it is, she's German. But the language they say that you're supposed to speak, if you hear anyone from England and they don't pronounce V's and F's the way they're supposed to be pronounced, you know that their native language is not the language they were told it is. It's not. They took your languages first. They've shown you what they've done to the rest of the planet. But they tested it on you first.
Yeah. I learn so much every time I talk to you, Tracy.
Wow.
You have things like what's going on right now, which is a great thing for indigenous people, but they're there to help support the non-indigenous here too. The thing about it is we are all related, and that's the main deal. But, like Tracy said, it didn't start. It started there too, first. And to be honest, she's absolutely right. That's the reason I sit back here and just say, because she's right.
Well, what people don't realize is that all the people that lived in Europe come from tribal backgrounds to begin with. And you can still see that we're somewhat apparent, like in Ireland and Scotland, where they still have their lands,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
all people were tribal one time.
Right. It's just that they don't live in tribal settings anymore, whereas our indigenous people still do for the most part. Still live in very tribal communities.
And the worst thing that happened here was to bring the laws that beat those poor people to the ground over here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing the same thing. We're living on something that didn't work in the first place.
Exactly.
If it worked, everyone would be happy and riding unicorns and like hugging or something. But they're not.
Tracy, I can say it like this too. I've been, following both candidates, and neither candidate has said a thing about what's going on with the XL pipeline and Standing Rock. It's like it don't exist to these.
Maybe you guys will get Sanders, and wouldn't that be a change?
Here's what I'm
voting for Bernie. I'm still voting for Bernie. He's the only one out there that's with the people. He's the only one that makes sense to me.
Well, I'm pretty sure Hillary has MS, so you do not want her in control of the red button. Like, I have MS, and you do not want me to have that, because I every so often wake up in the morning and I would push that button. So you don't want her in.
No.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing, Mashu. Here's one of the issues I see. Every time I listen to Trump when he states that he's going to make America great again, only thing I can hear, and pardon my expression, guys that are not indigenous on Turtle Island, but the only thing I can hear is that we're going to make America white again, because that is the most racist man I've ever heard running.
He is. I have one of three
somebody
things.
I know.
I have one of three things that I predict is going to happen if Trump gets in. I really don't think he will. But number one, my prediction is that probably within the first, let's say, 4 months, somebody will be smart enough to assassinate him. Number two, the country is really going to go to hell in a handbag, and there's going to be a revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're going to end up in World War III, because he's the type that will just push all the other countries around us where that button will have to be pushed.
And, things are bad enough. America's got their guys and their girls now, because, there's not enough women being raped, apparently. So they're out in the front lines. But I don't know who else America can invade. You're running out of places. I don't know if there's a little island that is undiscovered. But we don't want Trump in there. And I realize a lot of people, and we are being carried by Revolution Radio. Thank you very much for doing that. Are still saying Trump's the guy. Trump is not the guy. It's bad enough. Listen to him. He opens his mouth and then this filth just falls out of it. It's like there's a.
And you know what else, Tracy? You're exactly right, and I agree with you 100%. And people say, because I have a sister that argues with me all the time because she's a devout Hillary supporter. And I told her, I said, do you realize how many millions of people are going to be writing in Bernie? And she goes, and then Hillary loses, and then Trump becomes president. And I said, why would you want Hillary in there? I said, she belongs behind bars. She has got no sense of national security. She's been involved in what was these what was that called, that real
Benghazi.
Yeah, well, aside from Benghazi, when her husband was governor.
Oh yeah, that other one.
It was. I want to call it White Gate, but I don't know if that's it or not. It was some big real estate scheme.
I know what you mean. I forget the name too.
Yeah, and just look at the history, and this is someone you want to have leading the country.
Between her and the guy who has gone into bankruptcy and everything he's ever owned.
Yeah.
And had to do a TV show. I'm sorry, people, billionaires don't have to do TV shows. They own networks.
Yeah.
No, he's ruined everything he's touched, and you want him in charge of your money?
Right.
Ah!
And so my sister's argument, you pick the lesser of the two evils, which will be Hillary. And I said, why do I have to vote for either one of them?
Well, here's the thing, Mashu. You got 4 candidates running right now, and only one they're going to let go on the debate stage is 2. But if you actually look at this, if you truthfully actually look at this, and you want to vote for a candidate that actually stands up, what about the lady from the Green Party that actually got arrested with the pipeline protectors?
Okay, that's the third one I know of. Who's the fourth?
There's another 2 from another Libertarian Party, but I really don't. I've listened to him, and he don't know where he's at either.
Well, they're not letting the people arrested have bail, so she may be in there too long to become your president.
Yeah.
Or her first order of business would be to write herself out of there. I don't know.
Well, I know of 2 candidates. Oh, I know of another candidate that will have to be a write-in, but he's not really campaigning all that much, and so I don't think he has a chance. And he's Indigenous American. William Lowry.
Wasn't he on the show with us?
William Lowry.
Yeah, he was on the show with us.
One of our guests, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
And isn't that supposed to be the law
It's hard
of the
for me
United
to vote,
States?
guys. It really is hard for me to vote since Mr. Ed died, because there ain't nobody really better than Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was the talking horse a long time ago. Sorry, man.
Nonsense.
Stop it. I remember that show too.
Yeah.
So other than our cryptic "we're too old" references, it's not looking too good.
No,
and I'm all up here with our Disney prince, and he's pretty. And that's it.
Tracy, and sometimes in some people's worlds, that's all that counts.
Being pretty? Yeah, that's why when he really screws up, when he goes places, he immediately gets a picture taken with the shirt off.
Oh, see, no, I've not seen any or heard of any of that.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
I had so much hope in him, especially after Stephen Harper got out. I was so happy for that. And then this kid comes in and I find out he's Métis. And I went, oh, man, Canada is so freaking lucky. Why can't we have that kind of luck here? And then, what was it, a month or 2 in, and then he started screwing up. I think the first thing was with the fracking, wasn't it?
Yeah, with the fracking.
Yeah.
He's an oil and resource stealing guy, just like his daddy, Trudeau,
Yeah.
who we had in there forever. And his Métis mother left him. Didn't want anything to do with Trudeau, the
Bless her.
father. So
Oh, you were talking about the oil companies. You said that.
we're on our way out. We're hearing the Get Out of Town music. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you guys will come back. You give me strength. I really needed the help today. And thank you everyone for listening. Again, we're listener supportive. We could always use your help, and love you guys.
Okay, love you guys.
Got you, man.
Don't
Don't